Hi, Damian. Nice to finally sit down with you.
Yeah, good to see you, mate.
Yeah,
Everything good?
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you. It's all good. How's things with you?
Yeah, not bad. A bit of cabin fever, but really shouldn't complain. And the weather's
Well,
improving, so all in all, yeah, things are looking up.
yeah, it's understandable in this
Yeah,
sort of environment we're in.
I know.
So 25 years. It's
Yeah,
a long time of Pell Frischmann. It's a long time. Um, and I just
yeah,
want to sort of sit down with you and pick your brains about it and sort of 25 years later, how things have changed, where are we now? What's your thoughts for the future? So maybe a good place to start is sort of where it all began. So sort of why civil engineering? Why did you end up in this industry?
okay. Well, that's interesting because it's a journey from not knowing what I wanted to do. I wanted to do engineering all the way through to my current role. So highway sector director at Pells, I'd have never thought it. Um, when I left, at school in the sixth form, I did maths, physics, chemistry. It's the usual because I'm probably better at numbers or were at the time than at writing English. So I decided I wanted to go into engineering, and to be honest, my A levels weren't particularly good, and I didn't particularly enjoy school, the academic work. If I'm honest, I could never really buckle down to it. Too busy playing football. Anyway, got enough, got the right grades to get into civil engineering. There were various options. I looked at electrical as well, but
Yeah,
and I did AO level in that and enjoyed that. But really, civil was what I wanted to do. And of course, nobody else who I knew had ever heard of it. Well, my dad is a chartered engineer, but mechanical. So of
yeah.
course he thinks that's really what you ought to be doing.
So that's where the
Uh,
mechanical interest came from.
yeah, probably. So anyway, I went in. I applied for civil engineering and got on a course in Edinburgh area, what university. So went up there. Really didn't know what to expect, but enjoyed the course. And after about the first 2 years, actually knuckled down to do some work and thoroughly enjoyed it. And so that was really where I got into how I sort of ended up in the career. At that point, started working. I did some work with TRL.
Okay.
I managed to get them to support my own dissertation as well. So I kind of got into the industry at quite an early stage and really got a feel for it and understood what it was about and really loved the research.
Mm.
So I was keen to do more at uni. So I progressed. Well, to be honest, couldn't get a job. Thought I'd
Yeah.
better get a job. There was nothing around. I graduated in '93. No recession. It was horrendous. Managed to get a role. Got a sponsored position on an MSc at Leeds, and that
Yeah.
was transport planning. I'd never heard of transport planning,
Yeah.
but you know how these things are. I just went through it, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that was one of the
that's the
things I
career.
noted. That's one of the things I noted in terms of like you obviously had the switch from civil engineering to transport planning, and I just
Yeah,
it seems like in it now from where we sit, I guess, and in the world of today. So I went straight through my bachelor's in civils and did an MSc in civils straight away, and it's really weird in today when everybody's screaming for civil engineers. The jump there and the difficulty of going from a civil engineering degree to say actually well I want to do a transport planning masters.
well, yeah, I've spent a lot of my career explaining to people that transport planning is just an aspect of civil engineering. ICE now agree,
Mm,
and so, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest decisions on major projects, particularly, are not made by engineers when they start doing the design. They're simply not. The major decisions are made by um, particularly transport planners and engineers at early stages of projects when you're putting lines on plans.
yeah.
And do you need that scheme, whatever it is? Is it not? Is it in the right place? Do you need it at all? And for me, that's far more interesting than the detail, of which I haven't got the patience for. Well, that was really why it came around. And then the start of my career was all transport planning, transport modelling,
Yeah.
which I do enjoy because it's very analytical.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty straightforward, no matter what people tell you. And it gives you a real insight into a scheme because you are involved from the start.
Yeah.
And also because people assume it's a black box and no one could possibly understand transport modelling, it becomes a black art. So you very early in your career can start having quite a weight in terms of decision making and contribution and influence. So that was a good way in for me.
Yeah, I know when I was looking for jobs coming out of my master's, one of the ones, ironically, I think it was actually as part of the TNT team that I originally looked at Pell Frischmann.
Okay.
And I went through the whole process, and it was, oh well, based on my CV at the time and the experience I had at the time, it was more towards highways that I'm in now. And yeah, I think as I've gone through at the start, you're kind of like, I've never heard of transport planning. I know it exists, I know it's a thing, but there's the relation to civil engineering and the sort of core design that you do and the technical design that you go through university looking at. It's sort of a world away at that point.
It is, I certainly in my civils degree, I failed my finals structural engineering exam, which didn't go down well and had many problems. Anyway, that's in the past. But yeah,
you've done all right without that. It's okay.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing is you can change what you do or expand on it. So as far as I'm concerned, no matter what some of my colleagues would say, I consider myself as much a highway engineer as much as I do a transport planner.
Yeah.
I don't see the point at which one becomes the other. So I'm very relaxed about that route into engineering. I think it's an interesting route in, but also the other route I think is particularly fascinating is project management. And I noticed that because I did have a look at your CV, that you're already looking to progress down the project management route, which is good stuff.
Yeah, so
you're in an early stage.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I've sort of always, you take personality tests throughout, and you take them through uni, you take them at school, you take them, and I've always sort of come out as towards that leadership role. Anyway, I think it's just one of my personality traits. Yeah, I pick up quite quickly some of that management stuff. I'm looking at Association of Project Management qualifications at the moment and working towards them. But I think the thing for me at the moment, and from what I've seen, is you have to have both elements nowadays. You have to have that technical element, and you have to have whatever that might be in transport planning, highways engineering, structural engineering, whatever. All the same thing, really. You have to have that wider knowledge. That's whether you want to call it a specialism, whether you want to call it a generalist sort of idea of having an element of everything and pulling it together via project management, via that PM role, via various different elements that you then grow and take a project forward. Because I just don't, from my point of view at the moment, it's maybe it's naive because I'm still near the start of my career, but it's all my mindset is always focused around project delivery and the tasks associated with a delivery of a project, as opposed to I know it's when you do work on multidisciplinary projects that I do at the moment, you see these people in their box saying, well, I'm a transport planner, I'm doing this, and I'm a highways engineer, I'm doing this, and it just,
I know, I find it frustrating. You're always
it is, a
bit part player, and you come in and out of the project. I find that very difficult. And look, I agree with you, and I think from my point of view, having some level of specialism up to a point is good. But if you are a leader, you will not want to remain doing that. You'll be bored. You will become bored, and you'll want to know about all sorts of other things. And once you've developed the skill for a specialism, whatever it is, that discipline of understanding things to a reasonable level, you can do that with other disciplines that you as a project manager, you're involved with. So you'll get to understand sufficient information, knowledge, and geotechnical engineers to get you by until you have the opportunities to consult with the expert. Similarly, with the structures, there's so much to know. You're never going to be able to learn all of the different, but you can know enough to be able to support and drive a project. And I think that's what's really important. So having some specialism provides you with that sort of discipline to learn, and to have an understanding of how other specialisms are catered for in projects.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think that's the right thing. But I do think what I've discovered, and I discovered it quite late, was this whole understanding what your strengths are. I would really strongly recommend you look into that. There's various sort of free opportunities available to check out your leadership behaviours and what have you, or there's some that are quite a modest cost that I could speak to your boss about. But a good one's Gallup, and they do a really good one. But all it does is, what's really important is you work to your strengths. You don't worry about your weaknesses. You worry about your strengths and work to them. If you do that, you perform to the maximum, the maximum ability you possibly can. Understand what you're really good at.
That's
way more
really
important than understanding what you're not good at, because that enables you to really work well within the team, and also as a leader within the team, you can really understand where you could drive that team forward and where you need support from others.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because they always say, I think the go-to is sort of understand what your own weaknesses are, so that you can, if you're building a team, you build around, so your weaknesses are in areas X, Y, and Z, and therefore you bring people in who kind of can bolster you in those areas that are close to you. You keep your weaknesses around you, and your own strengths sort of shine through. But it's rare that you sort of see or you talk about the other side of it and say, actually, acknowledge these, but just drive forward through on the strengths that you've got.
Exactly. Recognize that you need support in other areas, but focus on your strengths, because that is what's going to get you to maximize your efficiency.
No, that's really interesting. I've never actually thought about it like that until you've said it. It's always the other way.
I know, but it took me ages to get my head around this. Years ago, it was all wishy-washy stuff, and nobody really wanted to get the head around it. But I do think it's important, especially in terms of how we all work together in sort of integrated teams. We need to understand where the strengths lie. For example, my sort of best strength that I've got is all around adaptability. What happens if, we deal with it in X, Y, and Z, in dealing with crises, and also unexpected events that happen. Right, what we're going to do now. Very specialised people that are very focused on detail struggle to get their head around what happens when something goes wrong. But the problem is, something always goes wrong. It's just how it is. However, I also am very conscious that detail is not my strength. I wouldn't say it's my weakness, but I get bored. So it's always useful to make sure that there's people within the team who are really good at the detail, but ideally who can then provide you with the summary so that you're able to take it forward and make decisions on that.
Yeah.
So I would recommend you look at that. And the Gallup one, really good, really good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'll have to have a look. Yeah, because that's almost a full change of mindset in terms of going from the idea of understanding your weakness and backfilling your weakness, as opposed to driving through your strengths, because you can't. I guess you can't. Well, it's probably very difficult to do both at the same time, because you're so focused on just outweighing all those weaknesses, and you forget almost, because your natural instinct is to do these things over here. So
yes, but you need to develop your strengths. Keep developing them, because that will drive success. And and others. You also speak to other people. Take advice and say, well, where do you feel that I'm stronger, and where do you feel that I need bit of support? And it's always useful to get other people's opinion as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you said about adaptability, and that's one of your biggest strengths. Do you reckon? So you obviously you obviously went from civil engineering, you did transport planning. They're similar, yeah, I'll grant you,
Yeah.
but there's a certain level of adaptability there. Do you think how did that then grow, or how did you look to grow that, or did you understand, or was it you took this stance of growing strengths later in your career?
Yeah,
So
I did, or recognised it, simply because I spoke to people who had taken this on and got some advice. And self-awareness is important.
yeah,
You know, I'm not the most confident of people, so for me, it's been really helpful to
yeah,
understand where my strengths lie. But so in terms of career progression, if you like, moving from one
yeah,
specialism into more general. I think my biggest driver for getting into more highways was to get chartered through ICE, which always good to have an ambition,
mm,
in my opinion. Always have that pathway,
yeah,
and that can change. Who cares? But it's always good to have something to aim for. So that was my challenge, and so I spent a lot of time working out how I was going to achieve that. And at the time, transport planning, it was quite hard to get through ICE
yeah,
purely with that. So I did quite a lot of highways work. I am very interested in contracts, commercial side of things
yeah,
anyway. So that's something that really helped me.
yeah,
And so I went down that route. I've done bits and bits of site work as well. Did Manchester Metrolink before I joined Pells, and then
yep,
done some bits at Pells and administering contracts again. Very, very interesting. I'm interested in the behaviours and how people deal with them, how
yeah,
they try to where their interests lie, and how collaborative they really are. But that's changed over time.
yeah,
It used to be what's called the old ICE6 contract, and that was horrendous, and fifth before that. But now we're into a different world, and it's slightly better.
yeah,
Still
yeah,
challenges.
yeah. I have looked at a couple of law, and I think the IC run a law and contracts course nowadays, and I've tried to get on that. So I mean, I was about to. I think me and one of the other guys from the Birmingham office, we had signed up onto it, and then COVID happened, and
All right.
they
Okay. Well,
put it all back. So
do it as soon as you can. I did that. I
yeah,
loved it.
yeah,
Really, really good. So I think it'll make a huge difference for your review,
yeah,
demonstrate that knowledge, and it's so invaluable as you
yeah,
progress through the business. So really good course.
yeah. In terms of ambition and things, coming out of uni, so you obviously had the ambition. Did you have the ambition to get chartered coming out of uni, on the back
Yes,
of uni? Did you have
yes.
anything? Did you have anything more than that, or would you say that was the one that was the
No,
top of
no.
the tree at that point in time?
I wanted.
You wanted the world.
Well, yeah. I'm probably not the most ambitious person, but
Yeah.
I do want to progress. My mantra really is: if you are ever offered an opportunity, always take it,
Mm,
and that has served me well. So I know if there's ever a challenge out there and you're thinking, oh, I don't think I could do that. Well, in which case, go for it, because you can.
yeah.
Don't believe. Don't. I have this perhaps deluded sort of opinion that I can do anything, and I'm sure it is deluded, but it's a good mantra just to go out there and give anything a go. And I do think that's probably how as I've moved through my career, I've always enjoyed trying new stuff. And one thing I did do years ago, and I've never been very good at structural engineering, but it was how to design a retaining wall, and all the guys were trying to design what the structures guys were doing.
Yeah.
I actually took the book away and I designed it myself alongside them, if you like,
Yeah, yeah.
a check, if you like. But I'd never done it before, but I thought it can't be that difficult, and it was difficult, but I did it. So I've done it now. So, but it's just the challenge. I love a challenge, and I
Yeah.
hate to lose. I absolutely hate losing, which it's not always a good thing. But yeah, so I enjoy progressing through my career. I always like another challenge, so that's really why, rather than
Yeah.
ambition for financial gain or anything like that. That's not particularly a driver.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, and it's interesting you said about sort of the change in plans and doing structural engineering and things like that, because I think a lot of graduates nowadays, they come out and they go, oh well, I've done lots of structural, I like structural engineering, I want to be a structures engineer, and then I want to get chartered, and then I want to do this, or I want to be I want to be a chemical engineer and do this and do that, or a mechanical engineer and do this.
Yeah,
And it's like, but I mean, I didn't come out of uni and want to be a highways engineer. I didn't think, oh yeah, that's my dream. I don't really know what I wanted. It's the honest answer. I know I
no,
wanted to get chartered. I knew I want to progress in my career, but
yeah,
you just kind of accept what comes your way and go with it and make the
it's
most of it. That's kind
exactly.
of how I work in a way. It's not.
It's a good way to work because you never know what's going to be around the corner.
No, absolutely.
And I've followed a very similar path of just I wasn't really sure what specialism I wanted to remain in, or did I want to? I'm not driven by engineering, to be honest, as a thing. I'm getting more to the point where I'm more driven by being, and it sounds awful, a businessman than an engineer.
Yeah,
Simply because, to be honest, I got to the point where the technical work was becoming a bit tiresome for me because I do get bored, as I've
yeah,
said already, and I like a challenge. So the challenge is how can we do things better? How can we make people the best that they can be? That's absolutely, for me, another key issue.
yeah,
Everyone, we need a workforce whose drive is to be the best that they can be, whatever that happens to be. Not everyone's going to be a future, a director, MD, whatever.
yeah,
But it doesn't matter as long as they try, make the most of the opportunity available to them. Then that's all you can ask of anyone. And I think
yeah,
that's just so important. And that isn't about engineering. It's simply about people being prepared to motivate themselves and have that level of drive for themselves and for others, because
yeah.
it's a team-based organisation we're working in, the whole industry is. So
Do you,
yeah,
do you think understanding, so going back to sort of your strengths and your weaknesses and the mantra, the way you're dealing with them, do you think you understanding your own and having almost switching that mantra at whatever point it was to the understanding your own strengths and driving them through helped you see the potential in people better, or do you think you always had that?
no, I think it has helped. And yeah, I get a bit not emotional but upset when people don't make the most of the
Yeah,
skills and the talent that they've got. And I think probably for me, I don't focus on it, but the biggest challenge I have is self confidence. Probably as much as I've said, I feel I can do anything. Um, I feel um, I guess the Pells is a good business for this because I don't feel any more worthy than the most junior member of staff. And I'd never expect them to do anything that I didn't feel I could do.
yeah,
And that is very much the sort of the way that Pells operates. We all right, we have a hierarchy in terms of management because you've got to. I don't believe I'm better than anybody at Pells. And because of that sort of view, and I think that's shared across the sort of management team, we expect everyone else to pull their weight as much as we do because we think that they've got all that skill and talent, and why shouldn't we want them to really crack on?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so it's important that we help people develop
yeah.
because we need succession in the business.
It's
Uh,
an interesting point you raised there about Pells and the impact of the sort of Pells uh, structure and feel in
yeah,
development. Do you think if you'd gone to Pells is obviously sort of a, a medium-sized uh, enterprise, and do you think if you'd gone to the larger organizations, the ACOMs of this world, the Motts, the Jacobs, do you think you'd have ended up where you are now, or do you think you're sort of well, by all accounts, your naturally introverted nature would have kicked in and taken over?
Good question. I think a lot of it is chance. In the bigger organisations, there's a lot of good people. Obviously, they're a lot bigger than us. I'm sure their people are as good or nearly as good as ours. And they are, because we've worked with some excellent people in those organisations.
They like to think so.
Yeah, but it's very hard to, in a big organisation, make that step up. And maybe it's a bit more challenging, and there's a bit more competition. I don't know. I couldn't. Yeah. I'm not really sure, but certainly Pells suited me. And good organisation to work for, and I hope I can continue that, and hopefully develop younger people to continue the growth in the business. It's important, and it's great to work in an organisation where it is more of a family feel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a totally different feel. I know I started line management the start of this year, and the grad, one of the grads that came on and I was talking to and mentoring was she was sort of asking about opportunities, and I was speaking with Graham McNichol, so the Birmingham technical director, and he kind of came on. He came on the call, and this is probably her second day, and we had another follow-up call the week later, and she the grad was sort of, does he always do that? He's a technical director. Why is he constantly coming onto these calls? Why is he talking to me? Why is he doing this? And you have to explain, and you have to kind of go through and say it's just not how Pells works. Pells is everybody can talk to everybody, and I think that's a massive benefit, because like you said earlier, it's about dispersing knowledge down the line and helping that growth through. And it's really interesting. It is a totally different field to, I think, when you leave uni, you have a preset idea of what industry is going to be like, in this cutthroat industry that everybody goes on about, and you walk into something like Pells, and it's totally
just not like that. No,
totally different.
And not all organisations are the same. I know we've had new people joining over the years, and the common thing that people have said, and I've had conversations with them about it, is, I didn't want to bother you.
Yeah.
Like, as if you shouldn't bother the directors because they're way too important to be getting involved in some issue that they've got. Well, I couldn't be further from the truth. Why wouldn't they bother me? What is it about me that means that I'm a superior in some way? It's absolutely ridiculous. So as far as I'm concerned, as I said, I need to be involved as much as the next man, and if I can support and help, I want to. Just give me a ring. In some organisations, I wonder if to get to the stage where they're so scared of the leadership team that the leadership team are just sat there waiting for a phone call that never happens. Because everyone's too frightened to call them. It's just absurd. So we could not be more opposite, and that's really important, that we are approachable, and people, hopefully the staff recognise that we want to help. I want to help, and I want to be involved. And if someone's got a problem, I want to see if I can help solve it for them.
No, absolutely, and it's definitely, I think, maybe not when you first start, but I think very quickly you pick that up. I know I did, and I hope the others in the office feel the same, and the other grads feel the same. But
I hope so.
Yeah.